We are going to be going over how you're going to plan your research. And at the end of this, I'm going to want you to provide me with a research plan so that when you start looking up these sources, you have a direction, okay? I don't want you just looking up stuff at random. I want you to know what you're looking for. All right, so let's start here. Let's look at your research question. This is the one I came up with. You may not use it. All right. For starters, these are some important questions, okay? You do need to determine, why is it even controversial? All right. And is it still something that people are talking about now? Okay, what all are you going to have to actually look up? All right, these are some questions that I came up with based on the first two questions that I showed you. If you're asking a should question, you're going to need to know what are the pros and cons, okay, of doing that, and where has it been done before? What you also want to know, look at the last two things that I've got here. Who or what is qualified to answer any of the questions, and what credible sources would have this information? Okay, so first of all, look at your question. Is it really even an issue? Are my fingernails too long? Well, okay, first of all, is that debatable? Would people disagree? And the second one, though, is it relevant to a large group of people? In this case, that's probably not, is it? Okay, so now, who's your audience, basically? And can you make a real argument? So, who is your audience? What do you both agree on for starters? Remember, you have to have some common ground, a premise. Remember that term that you both agree on so that you have some kind of starting point. Now, what are the things that you disagree on, and why do you disagree? Okay, so let's look at the next thing. Types of support that you're going to need. Who are the experts? Who has the type of information that you need? Are opinions okay? In some cases they are, but whose opinions should you look for? Okay, so when to use opinions. Well, if you want my opinion, it's those commies brought the virus over here. Uh-huh. Okay, well, is this source qualified? Probably not. Is the opinion relevant? Is it a good, strong opinion? Would it add to anything? Okay, now what kind of data should you include in here? And you need to have this for your logos. All right, so here's some hard data. Okay, numbers, dates, places, those are always pretty solid. Okay, percentages. Some other hard data. Well, testimonies count, even your own personal testimony. If you've had a personal experience, nobody can argue with that. Eyewitness accounts, if you saw it, nobody can argue with it. You can talk to people who saw it or were affected by it. Photos work as good evidence. Okay, concrete descriptions, not judgments. Specific names of people and places, and surveys. All right, notice some of these things on the hard data thing. Notice that some of them have asterisks next to them. And the asterisks indicate things that you personally can gather. All right, so moving on. Let's look at your sources. Okay, veracity, that means how truthful, how honest is it? Okay, objectivity, are they biased? Are they two-sided? And is it thorough? And you also want to look at credibility. All right. The other half of this is currency and relevance. All right. Currency has to do with how recent it is. Okay, relevant. We've discussed that already. So let's look at something to remind us about credibility. So could we trust this source? Could we trust what this source is saying about themselves, about who they are?
I am your daddy.
Well, can you trust that source for what they say they are? Okay. Kairos, that's the currency. Relevance. I don't know if you recognize this picture. This was the headline after a presidential election where it looked like Dewey was in the lead. However, he was defeated by Truman. So first of all, that's not a good source, but also that was a very, very long time ago. So no, it probably wouldn't be a good source. All right, let's move on. What can we trust? How do you know what you can trust? Well, first of all, your stuff that's on the college and the high school databases, yes. And I did send you a media bias chart. You can look at that for a publication's objectivity and truthfulness. Also, look at the website's About Us section. Look at its mission, its objectives. Why does it exist? Look at author credentials, okay? Who is it that's doing this? Is it a reporter? Is it Joe Blow, giving their opinion on something? Are they an expert in what they're talking about? Okay, so let's look at the thing on filtering your sources, how to start where you need to. Okay, we've talked about this for one thing. These URLs, if they end in .gov and .edu, what are they? Here's a reminder.
Okay, repeat after me. .gov, .edu, those are the two. .gov, .edu, those are the two. Why do I get the feeling that you guys didn't all repeat after me?
Okay, so y'all remember that, right? All right, now, as you're doing your research, even if you're not sure if you can use it, keep track of all your data and your sources. Use that annotated bibliography, remember, because it's going to tell you what's in that source, what kind of information it has. And also, you'll already have your source citation. Okay, save a copy of all of your sources, okay? Put it on your drive or print it. I don't care, but I want you to save a copy because you will be turning it in. As you find things that you can use, highlight it, and I want you to label what you highlight. Where do you plan to use it? Okay. Also, organize and evaluate the materials that you find so that you can, just take it and use it where you need it. All right, finally, this is you have time to do it, but you need to manage the time that you have. All right. You're going to look at your due dates, look at your personal calendar. What are things that you have? What times are open? Look at all the research that you need to do. I want you to break up the tasks. I want you to block time into your calendar to do this, and I want you to be faithful about it. All right? Because your paper's going to look really bad if you wait until the last minute to get all this. All right? So that is the end of this presentation.